Hey guys, Drifter here. Today I have a commentary for you about fear and control, or does lack of control cause fear? In my case it does. The gameplay that you're seeing right here is me using mostly the R870 MCS on this particular map. I'm playing with Lord O and J-Hub. We're going to end up pub stomping pretty hard, kind of fighting for the kills. That was just awful beginning. Like most of the games you see on my channel, my beginning is pretty shoddy, but then I come back and do exceptionally good near the end, and I actually had a pretty awesome murder spree near the end. I picked up a MTAR, and I believe it had an EOTech sight, if I'm remembering the correct game, and I managed to slaughter people pretty good, so just keep an eye out for that. But for now, let's talk about the actual subject of the commentary, that being fear and lack of control. If you remember from a previous commentary, I have a fear of flying. Long story short, I didn't used to be afraid of flying, but then I had to study airline disasters, not airline, but just airplane in general disasters for about 6 months or so, and that kind of ruined my perception of it, even though the odds were in favor of me being safer on the plane than just sitting down in the airport. However, not long after that, I posted a video of me being on a helicopter flying with Olordo, who I'm playing with in this game. And one thing you'll notice about that particular video is that I'm very happy and not particularly concerned about flying or fear of flying or anything like that. And a lot of people in the comments were more like, fear of flying, my ass, my ass, my ass. Like the Drifter made this up, made it up, made it up. And I looked at it and honestly it looked pretty bad that, 4 days ago I just had a video about fear of flying, and here I am having jokes in a helicopter with a pilot that likes to swerve all over the place. And I couldn't quite figure out why I was comfortable in a shoddy little helicopter that was mostly glass being flown by a volunteer pilot that liked to do little tricks just for the fun of it, whereas a major airline I am radically uncomfortable sitting on. And the difference was control, or perception of control. Not that I can pretend that I can really control what's going on with a helicopter, or that I can pretend that I'm a pilot. Yeah, there's that MTAR with the EOTech sight, but the murder spree happens later on, that I could really tell what was going on. But the difference is when I'm sitting in that airline, I feel like a piece of meat in a metal tube. It's just like you just sit down and wait 3 hours, and we promise that you'll get there like eventually and everything will be fine, so just you don't worry about it, okay? And I can't really see anything out the window because I'm too tall and I have to break my neck to look down. Whereas when I'm there in that helicopter, I know all 4 people in there. I'm talking directly with the pilot. I'm listening to the communications, listening to all the things he's doing. And I ask him, hey, can you go to the left? He goes to the left. Hey, can you go up? Hey, can you go down? Can you do this? Can you tilt for us? Can you do whatever? And he doesn't. He just doesn't care, and it's all jokes and games. And even though I'm not the one flying, it gives me a greater sense of control or understanding of what I'm doing, rather than just sitting there and waiting for something to happen, waiting either for the gear to hit the ground or for my ass to hit the ground the hard way. And that difference was the control. And I realized in this experience that I really hate randomness. I hate random risk. I hate risk. In some ways, usually when you model risk, you always are going to model it as a random or a semi-random thing, because even in things you control, there are other variables you don't control and you can lose and things can go awry. But that sort of randomness I really don't like, even though the odds are low. There are things such as, if I ran an army, you could tell me I could go out and fight people, or I could walk through a minefield. Now, bearing in mind I haven't had any military training, and I have not had experience with fighting people, not exactly, but I would really, honestly, rather probably go into a firefight than I would try to walk through a minefield, just because I feel like, in my situation in a firefight, it's something that I control. It's my accuracy that determines whether I live or die. It's my friend's orders. It's my, commander's intelligence. It's the positioning, how well did I poke up at the wrong time, was I being covered? It's that sort of control, whereas when I think about a minefield, you can just have detectors and you walk through and you just hope your machinery works, and every time you put your foot down you just run in that risk that you could go kaboom, 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 even though the odds are probably better that I can get through the minefield with all the modern equipment. And you could use other examples. For instance, things that are very dangerous that I'm perfectly comfortable with. Driving a car in terrible traffic, motorcycles, mopeds, whatever, not worried about it. It doesn't scare me because to some degree I control that. Fighting other people, not a big concern. I don't like getting my ass beat, I don't like getting beaten up, and I know that I can very seriously get hurt, but that's okay. Going to a gun range or handling guns or being around people with guns doesn't really bother me. That's something I feel like I got control of. Same thing, even something crazy like skydiving, even though there's a random component that your shoot could be a failure, it's still something you control, and it's something that I would say I reasonably might do. I'm kind of holding out on skydiving because of that random chute not opening. I think I would just shit my pants right there in the sky if that happened. But other little petty things bother me so much, like diseases. I mean, if you ever study not biology, what's the word I'm looking for, pathology, or any sort of disease science, you'll lose your mind thinking about all the things that are out there that are in your body all the time, that are in every hospital. MSRA, botulism in the food, all sorts of little weird viruses and bacteria and things in your colon that should only stay in your colon and should never be anywhere else in your body. Things like lightning. I don't like going out in the rainstorm because I don't like being struck by lightning, even though I am really not almost ever going to be struck by lightning. The odds of that are so remarkably, incredibly low that even if I went out into a lightning storm holding up a giant metal rod, cursing God and Zeus and everybody in between and telling them to strike me, odds are I could do that every day of my life and nothing would happen. But I don't like that thought of just sitting out there waiting. Like, you just wait. It could be your next, you could be up, you could be up, you could be up. Or maybe that's just my bias, my experience with life, because I've always been that guy, and if any of you have a large group of friends, you might know somebody like me who is that guy that just, everything always happens to him. Everything that's wildly improbable, impossible, couldn't happen, shouldn't happen, wouldn't happen in a million years, that one rare offbeat scenario that you just think about for a second or two and be like, nah, that'll never happen. That's me. I'm the guy that always happens to. That bridge that's been standing for 100 years, it looks rickety, that tourists walk over every day, don't worry about it, falls through. That slight, mild risk that you have in very secure investments that'll never screw up, that's me. I'm always that guy, like, or in my case, you do something wrong and you cover it up and you're like, there's only a 1% chance that anybody will ever find out about this, and they really have to dig really hard to notice that anything is messed up. That's me. I'm that guy. So these sort of randomnesses I have a bias against. I guess it's a gambler's fallacy, which is kind of like saying it's like a roulette wheel if you think about it. We'll just simplify it. We'll call it a 50% chance between red or black, even though it's really 48 because you have the two little green tiles. But let's keep it simple, 50-50, red or black, and you spin it, let's say 5 times, and it lands on black, 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 it lands on black 5 times in a row. What are the odds that the very next spin it's going to land on red? Now, most people are going to go through there and say, okay, 50% times 50% times 50%. They'll get down to something like, there's a 99% chance it's going to land on red on your next spin, but that's a fallacy. And the fallacy is that the next spin has absolutely nothing to do with the previous spins. Nothing. Even though the chain of events is improbable, if you're only looking at the very next event and not the chain, it's still 50% no matter what. And even though I know things like this, it still kind of screws me up in my head because I'm always on the receiving end and getting the shaft of this gambler's fallacy when I'm like, the very next thing would never happen to me because the odds are so low, even though all this other kind of stuff, gets me. And I think I am going near to the end of the video where I'm going to pick up that gun and do particularly well at the end. I hope you're learning something about this commentary. Maybe you're different than me. Maybe you have a different bias, a different set of experiences. Maybe some of you don't prefer to be in control of these sort of dangerous situations because you're scared, because you clam up, because you choke, because you're worried about you being the person that's choking and you causing your own death. For some reason, these are not the things that concern me. The other sort of uncontrollable events concern me. And I don't know what that is. I don't know what it says about me personally or otherwise, but I hope that you use this as an insight to look inside yourself and understand why it is that you fear or don't like the things that you do, and hopefully get a better control over that. It's giving me some insight. Every time I try to think to make a video, I manage to find something insightful about my life, and I hope that you all are able to do a similar thing. That was my little spree with the MTAR. The game is kind of winding down. I didn't think I actually did good this game. I thought I did dumpy for the most part, but then when I looked up my score at the end, I realized I actually managed to go, I think it was 41-11 or something like that, maybe 48-11. It was really high. We're going to see what it is. Clearly we won the game. It wasn't a problem. And what are we going here? Oh, okay, we get to watch this guy and his big target finder totally uncoolness here. And it's going to show the score in a minute if it'll go and go. Come on, video game. Do your thing. And 41-11. Not bad. Drifter out.